too soon. My name is Zaid Tabani.
I'm Jesse Moriarty.
And I'm Dillon Hulse.
Yo, like I said, this is our other new show we've been working on, kind of a little bit of a midweek update. I am off this week for Freestyle in the News, so I'm just kind of updating everything as we go along. Jesse, Dill, how you doing? Jesse also has strep throat this week. How you feeling, Jess?
It sucks. It sucks really bad. I don't recommend it. I'm going to have to say 0 out of 10.
I've always heard strep was one of the more like enjoyable throats, you know, like that you could have.
Trust me.
In terms of like a throat tier list, I think it's...
Yeah. Trust me, I know from the throat. Right, I'm something of a throat expert.
Whoa. Are you?
Yeah.
It's an enormous throat expert.
Yeah.
Would you say you're the throat goat? Is that what you would say?
You know, I mean, people throw around terms like throat goat a lot, but I got strep throat twice in 2 months. So, yeah, I think I have a reasonable claim to the term.
Anyway, guys, we have a lot to talk about today. A lot of news is broken this week. The week I had a fucking break. But let's start really quickly with Biden, Trump, and the Michigan primary. As you know, this is an election year. So everything is insane. And we just got done with the Michigan primary and the South Carolina primary. This is from Reuters. Biden won Tuesday's primary with 81%, but 13% or more than 100,000 people cast uncommitted ballots in a state where a large Arab American community and other progressive Democrats vented their anger at Biden's support of an Israeli offensive in which tens of thousands of Palestinians have been killed. Neither Biden nor Vice President Kamala Harris mentioned Gaza or Israel in their statement on Michigan's results, an omission that drew criticism from organizers of the uncommitted vote effort. The results showed Biden's core group of supporters are still behind him, a Biden campaign official said on Wednesday. That doesn't mean we will ignore the Arab American, Muslim American populations. We will not. We are not taking anyone for granted, the official said. Now, here's the thing. Donald Trump isn't out of the woods either. From Bridge, Michigan, the real warning signs for Trump came in the vote-rich Kent and Oakland counties, which were key to Biden's 2020 win because of the suburban voters there fled Trump in large numbers. Haley ended up at 34% in Kent, 33% in Oakland, topping her nationwide percentage of 27%. Trump still won both handily, but he got 59% in Kent and 60% in Oakland, which means that he's not getting the margins he would like to get in that kind of a thing. And also, there's been other reports in South Carolina that he's only getting like about 1 out of 5 Republican voters are saying they are not voting for Trump. They are not on that train, irregardless of whatever happens. So question to you. We have 2 incredibly damaged candidates, 2 very frustrated electorates. What are your guys' takeaways on the uncommitted movement, on Trump's actual chances in November with this kind of mounting pressure there? Like, is it warning signs for one candidate versus another, or are they both in kind of like a weird, tenuous position?
It's difficult in this case to like relate this back to any kind of thing that has happened before, because it's a fairly, unique situation in which we find ourselves. I would have to say that based on the facts, it seems to me that they're both are indeed just kind of in a bad position internally within their own parties, and which, all other things being equal, spells kind of toss up in a general matchup. I
don't know if it's 50-50 between them, but I do think that they're both similarly. I think they're both similarly. You know, it's kind of funny. We were talking on did any of you guys watch Jon Stewart at all on The Daily Show in the last couple weeks at all?
I have not, no.
You fucking heretic. But anyway, the first week he was back, he criticized Biden's age and Trump's age. And he got a lot of pushback, specifically from people saying, hey, it's an election year. Democracy is on the line. But again, like, he contrasted them well enough to say that they're not the same candidate, but they're just both old. And people said he was both siding that. I think that kind of rhetoric is dangerous to a campaign where you're silencing actual concerns. I think it's also dangerous when you disengage from the process and you're like, don't vote at all to send a message, because Trump is not going to be better to Gaza, than Biden. Trump is going to be worse to Gaza, for Gaza, than Biden is.
Trump doesn't give a shit about Gaza.
Of course. But I do think that the fact that there is an uncommitted vote section is a good thing, because that's literally engaging with the process. There's one thing about disengaging with the process and saying, I don't want to have my voice, like, I don't want to even deal with this, because then nobody gets heard and people just go willy-nilly and don't look at data, because all these people live by data. Like 100,000 voters that say, I'm uncommitted. Not that I'm not voting, but I am uncommitted. I'm not happy with what you're doing. This is very clearly about, Israel and Gaza,
Is that uncommitted to either side?
Huh?
Is that uncommitted to either side, or
that's uncommitted to vote for Biden?
Gotcha.
So that's in the Democratic primary. There is a 13% threshold of about 100,000 or more voters, which Biden won Michigan only by like 150,000 votes. So that's huge.
Like last presidential election you're talking about? Okay, gotcha.
So that's huge. So, that could spell real trouble. And that's data-driven results. That's an immediate marker on the board that, like, you have to pay attention to this. And listen, if nobody voted and they were just on TikTok and bitching and moaning about it, the campaign could very easily ignore this and just be like, oh, that's just TikTok. This is not TikTok. It's very clearly an election result. People came out, they stood in line, they directly voted to voice their displeasure, which means I think that campaign has to take it into account, or at least wrestle with it. And the last time this happened with the primaries, where Bernie was kicking Biden's ass for a little bit, the campaign had to pivot significantly. Even after everybody dropped out and endorsed Biden, they had to pivot in order to try to grasp the vote that they didn't get. On the flip side of things,
it's interesting to me that Nikki Haley remains in the race, despite her only function, it seems, at this point is as a barometer of how many people within the Republican Party are unsatisfied with Trump. Do you think she's trying to be just an anchor to him, or do you think that she? I don't think she really thinks she can win. That's my point as well. I don't see how she can possibly think that at this point. It just doesn't. The numbers just don't back it up.
Anybody who's running and has gone this far along the process, they must feel they have something to gain, right? Who knows what she thinks she has to gain from that? Maybe, future political opportunities or something. I don't know. But yeah.
I'm sorry, I have to bring this up. Dillon is not Tim Pool, okay? Before anybody says anything, I know that he's wearing a beanie. Dillon is not Tim Pool. You look so much like Tim Pool right now. And I'm not saying that all white people look alike, but if all white people wore beanies, it would be hard for me to tell who you were, Dillon, okay?
Everyone, right? I'm sorry. The beanie stems from the fact that
if you get a blunderbuss on your wall, we're not going to be friends anymore.
Once my hair gets long, it's unmanageable, and so the beanie happens.
I like your hair long.
Yeah, I mean but it's not good. No.
As somebody who grows hair for a living with the race he is, I would like to say it's okay. It's okay to grow your hair out.
It's okay. It might just not be okay after a whole day of working softball and TV broadcasting.
Well, but I think you bring up a good point. It could be, I don't know what her motives are. I do agree with you, Jesse, that I think it could be that she wants to sink his campaign a little bit.
Yeah.
She wants to do something to try to illustrate that he's not a good campaigner in a general election.
Man, I'm on her
team.
Right,
it seems like the obvious.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
in another situation, a person who kept their campaign going would be angling for a vice presidency or a similar post. But then, if you know anything about Trump, you'd know that is not likely. He's too vindictive a man.
I still think the people trying to get
it's probably a Republican psyop.
It's a Republican psyop.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, we're talking about it Nikki Haley has secret Machiavellian notions of what to do here. What's interesting is literally after the Alabama, you guys know about the Alabama ruling with IVF, about how Alabama.
I did hear about this recently. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Alabama classified frozen embryos as people, so IVF is effectively going to be banned in Alabama until there's an overturning of it. Republicans signaled this is crazy. This is actually crazy. Trying to draw a line
jumped
there.
On it pretty quickly, didn't they? Though,
because they're scared of because when every ruling that has something to do with women's rights has been a blowback to them electorally in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Roe is widely considered the Dobbs decision is widely considered to have had a bad effect for them during the midterms, and even in special elections afterwards. So you got to think that like that IVF thing scares the shit out of them. I think that's the main thing, and I think that's something that like a lot of the people who we have on Too Soon Crew are saying, is that a huge, like enormous amount of people are frustrated with Biden. There's not enough media polls showing the scrutiny for Trump as well. I don't necessarily entirely agree with that. I think having all of those court cases in the media is pretty bad press in general. It's not great. But I do think that the fact that 1 in 5 Trump voters are 1 in 5 Republican voters are like, I'm not for Trump, isn't something you can discount. And I think that speaks, and I think that speaks not to like, oh, well, Biden's okay, but I think that speaks to like, this is an unpopular place America is in elections, and we shouldn't be here, right? Like in a representative democracy, we shouldn't be here. They said Mitch McConnell is retiring, but they also said he's the longest serving senator. Why? Like, why is that a thing? There shouldn't be a longest serving senator. There should be this senator served this amount of, I mean, term limits clearly.
Yeah.
But like, yeah.
We're a long way away from that, though, I feel like.
I agree, which fucking sucks. I mean, do you think that there's any way we'll see term limit in our lifetime? We're young, spry individuals, except for Dillon, whose hair is too long, so he cosplays Tim Pool. Sans a blunderbuss.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean,
there's too much
Tim Pool
money
has a lot
and
of
power at stake when it comes to political positions. I'm not sure if the government is willing to give that up for the people that end up in those positions. But I don't know.
Surely you, Tim Pool, could advocate using your platform.
I could if I wanted to. It's kind of down the list of priorities for me as Tim Pool.
Tim, I'm just really happy that you're here in spirit, honestly.
Yeah,
we haven't had a conservative voice here. Can I just ask you, when you started losing all of your hair, did you feel like when Vivek came on, he was like, oh, he's trying to take my thing because his hairline is like,
horrible,
in fucking grease right there?
He needed a beanie.
He did need a beanie.
Yeah,
he did need a beanie. If you could, would you rock the Vegeta Widow's Peak, even if it was like so far back on your head, you'd have to like look down for people to see it?
Zed, Tim Pool, of course, I would rock the Widow's Peak.
Yes,
the
Vegeta famous conservative commentator Tim Pool.
Yeah, of course, yes.
Yeah. Anyway, stop the steal. But
Row Tide.
Any final thoughts before we move on?
I, Tim Pool, have nothing to say further on this matter.
Thank you, Tim Pool.
Thank you, Tim Pool. Thank you for the rousing final thoughts. As you can see, we've gotten this whole podcast banter thing 100% down.
Fuck y'all for saying I look like that guy. I didn't know we were
I look like a fat genie. It's not my fault.
All right, so here's our next topic. It's about Wendy's surge prices and Netflix also surging prices. From the AP, Wendy's is looking to test having the prices of its menu items fluctuate throughout the day based on demand, implementing a strategy that has already taken hold with ride-sharing companies and ticket sellers. Completely different things, but what the fuck, Wendy's? Let's do it. During a conference call earlier this month, Wendy's CEO Kirk Tanner said that the Dublin, Ohio-based burger chain will start testing dynamic pricing, also known as surge pricing, as early as next year. Quote, beginning as early as 2025, we will begin testing more enhanced features like dynamic pricing and day part offerings, along with AI-enabled menu changes and suggestive selling, he said. As we continue to show the benefit of this technology in our company-operated restaurants, franchisee interest in digital menu boards should increase, further supporting sales and profit growth across the system. Wendy's company plans to invest about $20 million to launch digital menu boards at all of its U.S. company-run restaurants by the end of 2025. It also plans to invest approximately $10 million over the next 2 years to support digital menu enhancements globally. Wendy's backtracked, saying in a statement to Reuters on Wednesday that it, quote, would not raise prices when our customers are visiting us most. Okay. So what are you doing, Wendy's? What exactly are you doing?
They did this today. So they backtracked today.
Oh, so this is brand new. Okay.
Yeah, so that happened literally right out. So yesterday they announced this, right? And then today they were like, guys.
Yeah, because it's fucking stupid.
Guys, we didn't, when we said surge pricing, we meant We meant our own definition of surge pricing, which is, and when we compared it to rideshare, we were high. That's what we were. We were so high.
You used a term that already has a known meaning.
Wendy's also claimed that the menu boards would provide more flexibility to change the display of featured item, saying the comments were misconstrued in the media reports to raise prices during periods of high demand. We have no plans to do that. They're saying they were saying it's for discount to offer discounts more easily. That's such bullshit. That is absolute bullshit.
Yeah.
When you say like dynamic pricing means something very specific in this regard. I think you tried to test something and it fucked up and it backfired on you. Man, horribly.
That would be a really like shitty world to live in too. Can you imagine? Like,
oh my god, dude!
You want to get lunch, man? I would, but it's 3:00. That's an $18 Frosty.
Yeah, exactly.
Bro, like, but that's also like that defeats the purpose of fast food. Like, why would you go to Wendy's to get a burger? Like, nobody's like, oh man, I fucking need Wendy's right now. Maybe a Frosty, but an 18. I'm not gonna pay like an 18. Not that they've said that they're gonna do an $18 Frosty, but I'm not gonna pay $18 for a fucking Frosty from Wendy's. You know,
you know what else they can do? You know, they can adjust the speed of how fast you get the food. So, you know, if it's not surge time, like it's not fast food anymore. It's just like average timed food.
Plus, if they really follow the model entirely, they could do like share model. So if you split that burger with 3 other people, you can get a better deal.
That's right.
Yeah,
but actually, if you use Wendy's pool, then you guys can split a combo together. Like you can get, like one of you can get the burger, one of you can get the fries, one of you can get the runs. It's a nice little way to compartmentalize the Wendy's experience.
And if you do
for everybody
Wendy's X, the server comes to you in a like a suit, you know, in a nice top. You know, it's so ludicrous. Like when I read that shit, I was just like, "What? Like what are you going for here exactly?"
I feel like the more people there's these periods where companies think that they can nickel and dime everything, and then eventually, you know what happens. Like especially media companies and like companies where there is competition. Piracy happens. You're not going to fucking go to cable. You're not going to go to these things. You're just going to become a fucking pirate.
So connect this back to Wendy's. People are going to pirate the hamburgers?
I'm pirating the hamburgers. There's a, you know what? This is a really insane stunt to become the prequel of the Hamburglar movie. This is how the Hamburglar movie starts. That's
in a world where justice is outlawed. The just must become outlaws.
Did you just quote The Mask of Zorro to me?
The tagline of The Mask of Zorro. But
it's very good. It's very good. That movie is criminally not mentioned more in the zeitgeist.
Yeah.
I think those are some good points. Any other further comments on Wendy's surge pricing and bullshit?
I'd like to propose that we have another awkward pause in place of final thoughts.
And there you have it.
Yeah,
that was good.
Right.
That was good. That was appropriately awkward. I thought. Yeah, very good. Very good.
From The Hollywood Reporter, an immersive experience that promised to transport Willy Wonka fans into a magical realm has turned out to be such an epic letdown that customers called the police and compared the attraction to a meth lab. The UK event was titled Willy's Chocolate Experience and charged customers $44
hold on. No, not Willy Wonka's chocolate, just Willy's Chocolate Experience.
Just Willy. The event organizers apparently used artificial intelligence to generate promotional images that suggested a very high-quality attraction, which looked just like the immersive and trippy Wonka-esque world that the ad copy promised. But the result was somewhat different, and ticket buyers needed pure imagination to think it looked like anything like a fantastical chocolate factory.
Dillon, do you want to see how this? Like, let me share this very quickly. Exactly what we're talking about.
What the fuck is this?
I'm going to let you know what we're dealing with right now. Okay. All right. This was what was shared. This was what was said. Hey, listen. This is what you're gonna get. This is what they got.
Oh my god, bro. What? What?
Look at the bear. Look at the bear right here. Just bear just chilling in the middle.
Like literally, if I walked in there, like I'd be like, someone's about to mug me, aren't they?
Mhm.
Like I'm
All
about
right,
to
okay,
get
here's
mugged.
another one. Here's another picture. Oh my god. And they got the chocolate bar there.
Dude. Yes.
Oh no, it gets better. It gets better. It gets better.
Oh my god. They probably fucking used AI to make those fucking things right there. Like,
oh, and here's the thing. Here's the worker, the one worker who's there. The
Oompa
Oompa
Loompa.
Loompa at home we have. It was just like, what the fuck am I doing here?
she's literally making meth.
That is a $13 chemistry set. That looks like a meth lab. It definitely does.
God. I watched
Oh
Breaking
my
Bad.
God.
I know what a meth lab looks like. And
Jesus, man, that's
Dude.
probably the most egregious shit I've ever seen.
Wow.
That's wild to me. That is.
Wait, where was this again?
Glasgow, Scotland.
Wow.
I see you, Glasgow.
That is.
I see you. I see
Do you remember when Marvel versus Capcom Infinite came out? And this is a weird like segue, but like you remember when that came out, and then they were like, "Hey, you get the special." You know when you get like video game special editions, and they show you this like, "Oh, it's gonna be the Infinity Stones," and then when you open up the box, it's just these weird colored eggs that just light up, and you can't even take them out of the box.
Wow.
Or like you see like an action figure in like a TV commercial when you're a kid, and then you get the action figure, and his face is all like fucked up, and you don't even know what the fuck you're doing.
Or like you're
That's
all
what
excited
this
to
is.
see the Ronaldo like statue when it was unveiled, and then it's just like this weird like
This is the Wendy's burger after you order it. This is like you see the image and then you order it, and they're like, "We have surge pricing, and this is what it is."
Yeah.
You know, like that's what this is. Jesus,
Oh
man.
my God, bro.
I'm amazed that like got off the ground. Like that the day before opening night, they weren't like, "Well, we've completely failed in our efforts here."
I'm shocked
I think
that
the
AI
Wonka
was
actor-
used to promote it. I'm absolutely shocked by that. You know, and
That's what I think is interesting too. Is like why the use of. I mean, we know why the use of AI, but like
clearly from what we just saw there, they have no like production ability or like artistic merit of their own.
there's so many like AI like examples of like people trying to use AI like this will fix things, and then it just backfiring. And I don't think there's been a lot of examples of AI being scary, but when it's actually used to replace something, every time it's been a fucking disaster. Like Sports Illustrated. Like Sports Illustrated is Thanos now, but like
100%.
prior to it being, I mean, you have to know that blowback had to play somewhat into it.
Yep.
By the way, my favorite detail about the Willy Wonka thing is that there was they added the character of a villain, an evil chocolate maker who lives in the walls called the Unknown.
Wait, what? There's a villain
There's a villain.
in this attraction.
Yes.
Why didn't they just call him Slugworth?
Because he's not Slugworth. Slugworth doesn't live in the walls. The Unknown.
Why are you trying to make the Willy Wonka expanded universe? The fuck? Like what? There's also like a note from the actor who played it. Willy Wonka experience organizer Billy Cowell apologized for his vision of the artistic rendition of a well-known book that didn't come to fruition, and he offered the 850 people their money back before closing the experience. 850 people?
Wow.
Bro. Somewhere there was a musician who's playing a basement show. It was like, what the fuck, man? That's some bullshit. So the actor said, "I'm constantly applying to more acting jobs and comedy work, and then I got a phone call on Thursday saying, 'Congratulations, you're going to play Willy Wonka, and we will send you over the script and a dress rehearsal tomorrow.'" Script was 15 pages of AI generated gibberish of me just monologuing these mad things. The bit that got me was where I had to say, "There is a man, we don't know his name. He's known as the Unknown. The Unknown is an evil chocolate maker who lives in the wall." So that's AI. So that was just that weird AI
Not
generated.
just the promo images, but the
prompt.
script itself they were using for the event. Yeah.
But I stayed up all night learning it, thinking I would make sense in the dress rehearsal when I see all the tech. Absolutely
Wow.
bonkers.
Mind blowing.
Any other final thoughts on Willy Wonka that are not awkward pauses?
I hope they bring it here. I'm interested to see the
Traveling
I hope they.
exhibition.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes, bring it
I've
to the
wanted to
States.
audition. I think this is my time to shine. I can
This
make
could
that
be a
role
big
my own.
break.
You could be the unknown. Yeah.
Oh, I'm not trying to be the one. I'm trying to be the Oompa Loompa who's like sadly making weird meth in the middle of the Willy Wonka chocolate
How do
factory.
you think that her version of the Oompa Loompa song would sound? Like if you sang it right now? Like what? Could you do an impression of how she would sound?
Oompa. Look, I just work here, bitch. I'm not.
She's not even willing
Didn't even get through one Oompa.
I'm I'm leaving.
How much do you think she was
Okay.
paid to be part of the attraction?
Well, I mean,
Oh,
if
she
it
was paid nothing. She
If
was
it was
paid.
850 people for $44 each,
She
they
is
could've-
getting stiffed on that check. Like
Yeah.
100%. She's
Yeah.
they're gonna come in as like, listen, as you know, we had to give all the money back, and there just really wasn't any money. But you can keep the costume. You can keep the wig.
such as it is.
You can keep the PTSD. All of that's for
Oh
you.
my
You can take
God.
that home with you.
So next topic is concerning these Sony layoffs, SIE, Sony Interactive Entertainment to be more precise. This just happened yesterday. The president and CEO, Jim Ryan, posted on the Sony blog email to employees. After careful consideration and many leadership discussions over several months, it has become clear changes need to be made to continue to grow the business and develop the company. We had to step back, look at our business holistically, and move forward, focusing on the long-term sustainability of the company and delivering the best experiences possible for the community. We envision reducing our headcount by about 900 people, or about 8% of our current workforce. The impact for employees across all SIE regions, Americas, EMEA, Japan, and APAC. Several PlayStation studios are affected. That doesn't say here, but Naughty
London
Dog.
Studios, Naughty Dog, yeah. Insomniac,
There was
I think.
another one I can't remember the name of, but I'll look for it in a second. But yeah, and it's interesting in context with Insomniac Spider-Man 2, which released, when it was reported, that there was a $300 million budget for that game. And it just passed 10 million copies sold, I think. So, it's at least made around 700 million at this point.
Yeah, they've doubled their. That's profit. That's a very sizable profit. Yeah,
100%
margin.
So yeah, I mean, what do you guys think about this? And then also, concerning
also Guerilla Games, they're saying was affected too.
What's up?
Guerilla Games as well was affected.
Guerilla Games, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. So, what's y'all's opinion concerning this, and also kind of, how this ties into, I mean, what's been going around for a while is kind of like an evolving landscape for games and like development in games and stuff, like concerning AAA games compared to more indie games and studios, things of that nature.
What I find frustrating, I don't even think this is because of AI. I think this is because of a lot of different things about people being like, well, live service games aren't going to work, and we have to figure out a new monetization model, and the industry is changing, and we're about to be way more mainstream, and we just had the biggest gaming year ever. And like if profits were down and Spider-Man wasn't selling that many copies and gaming wasn't such a ubiquitous thing, I would be like, oh yeah, of course, like this, it's fucking shitty. But this doesn't, it's so incongruent. It doesn't make sense. I don't know why someone would do this unless, greed is too easy. I just feel like it has to be something with them thinking that they're making this Machiavellian play to corner the market in some way. And it's just at the expense of people, and 1 or 2 points up on their stock or up on their profit margin will look good on a balance sheet. But overall, the industry is going to suffer, and workers are going to suffer because of this real short-sighted bullshit. And also, EA just laid off 5% of its staff as well. They're going to lay off 5% as well, which is EA is just a shit company. Like, that's just fucking terrible.
That's been the word
Yeah,
for a long time, and yet they live on and they keep keep distributing things or producing things or whatever the fuck their role is. I mean, what do they do for games? I mean, do they actually develop, or I mean,
well, they're a publisher. They're
publisher.
They own a bunch of publishers. Yeah. So like as a publisher, they're very cutthroat, and I think like a lot of people are trying to be these like, hey, we have to be I think maybe it is that game publishers see themselves as like movie studios now, I guess. Because they're big tentpole things that produce these giant media juggernauts, and film isn't what it used to be, but games are, right? Like, it's funny. From Software is there, the Elden Ring trailer for the new DLC came out, and people are asking, how do you guys make such incredible games, game after game? And it's like, well, we have some really talented people here, and we trust them, and we retain them, and we do everything we can to just make sure that small team or that team that we have is happy. And like, what a novel concept to take care of the people around you and double down on them and invest in them in order for them to work. And even at Capcom Cup, there were developers there who were talking, whose friends had been laid off, who were like, nobody saw this as fucking useful. It's bullshit. It hurts teams. It hurts people trying to make things work. And it makes more burden for everybody else involved with very little foresight into how it will actually work. There's nothing discussed or foreshadowed. It's just sudden, like, oh, we're just cutting losses,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it just doesn't make sense with all the stuff there.
I'm wondering if it has some. I mean, because any way you look at it, right? I mean, if the budget being $300 million, I mean, if that's including advertising, development costs, paying the people who worked on the game, marketing, like, it feels like it's. I mean, yeah, it's a lot of fucking money, but it did do a lot, right? But then, I mean, you double that in your profit. I mean, like $400 million.
Yeah, I don't think.
I mean, like, that's just a lot of fucking money. Like,
even like Square Enix, which is wildly known for being so shrewd, their game will sell like 1 billion copies, and they're like, it sold less than expectations. I'm like, well, what were your expectations? The fuck?
Right.
Like, what do you like?
Well, that's the type of shit that happens all the time with companies, right? I mean, like, like for anybody who's worked retail, or, hi, and Jesse too. I mean, they tell you they have these fucking goals, or whatever.
How dare you?
I know.
How dare you?
Yeah, exactly.
Hollywood video, bitch. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Do you want to buy 25 cents for PlayGuard to guard your disc unless you break it?
Yeah.
Do you need that?
No, nobody needed that, Zed. But
I'm sorry, we actually don't have that video game. For some reason, when I look it up, it's not even in there. Can you pick another game except for Spider-Man 3?
But like, all that to say, like, your manager comes to you and like, well, the goal for this week, these are the numbers that we have to meet, and then you're able to look back in the system and see the numbers from last year, and like the goals for the current year are just, like whatever the store did the year before, like plus like a percentage, like it's bullshit. Like, so like, and that's what I think, that's like a microcosm of what it is at a larger like level, right? For these giant companies and corporations, they come up with a number based on data, and then like, that's it, and like, and if they don't make it, then like, what are we going to do about it? And then this is just kind of where the buck falls, is to the employees and to the grunts, like, who actually make the shit and do the shit, like, it feels like. So
I think it's like one of those things where you're at a party and somebody, we should move on after this, by the way, because we only have a little bit of time left. But like it's like when when you're at a party and somebody's like really like fucking annoying is there, and they're just fucking up everybody's time there. But like, it's like a faux pas to go out of your bubble and be like, hey bro, you fucking suck. That's what it's like to work in corporate America, because there's always like 3 or 4 people who fuck up the entire company for like the 1,000, right? Like, if it would be so easy if if you were in a building and it was EA, that's the problem, as opposed to 5 people at EA who, for some fucking reason, can't get their head out of their ass and they're destroying everybody else's good time, right? Like it was like at Capcom, like when I was working with Capcom and Street Fighter and stuff like that, I didn't know what the fuck was going on, but everybody I talked to was like, man, this company is fucked up right now. There are so many cool ideas and so many people feel that way. And I'm like, if everybody feels that way, why is it? And that's because there was like 3 or 4 people there who were just, their idea of how to make games was just not where it needed to be. And it was so backwards. And once those motherfuckers left and you got a much more focus with like, hey, Monster Hunter World, this is how you do this. Let's do Street Fighter 6. Let's do the RE engine. So we don't have to pay Unreal all the time. You know, all of a sudden you had this huge opening of things working out.
I do also find it interesting that this comes right on the heels of Helldivers 2 releasing. That's kind of interesting as well. And I mean,
Helldivers 2, which is
obviously Helldivers 2 is not I wouldn't consider it to be a huge budget AAA title like Spider-Man. It's also not a story driven game. It's a game that, you know, has replayability. You know, you can play it over and over again. You're not going to get through the story.
It's a live service game.
Exactly. Live service game. Exactly. So like, it's not going to be something.
Yeah. It's one of the few live service games that are working. You know what a live service game is, Jess, right? Do you know about that? Because
I have no idea, actually.
Live service, there's this new model of video games where we should move on after this, but like there's this new model of video games where it's a perpetual service and people keep updating things and they have a shop and you buy cosmetics and stuff like that to keep the game going. And there's new missions that keep getting added. And so many of them just failed. Like Yeah, people are trying to capitalize on Fortnite and all these other things. Helldivers is like probably the most successful one recently that's kind of popped up.
And a PlayStation Studios title, right? Like, so yeah,
it's a great game too.
Yeah, it is a great game. I just think it's really interesting that it's been out for about a week, I feel like now, and obviously they've seen the huge success, and then they're like, you know, sitting in their little boardroom being like, you know, maybe this is what we should be sinking more of our money and our resources into, and not 300 mil into a story driven game.
Okay, let's just move on. Jess, you want to do number 6? Sure. We can just end on that.
Sure. This one's near and dear to my heart because it's about disease.
About being sick.
Yeah. There have been measles outbreaks in Florida, and Philadelphia have come as parents defied advice to quarantine their children, and at least one high-profile state official sowed confusion about how long to keep unvaccinated children out of school. Both the outbreaks in Broward County, Florida, and Philadelphia made news after children brought the disease into the wider community. 6 children grew sick at Manatee Bay Elementary in Florida and 9 in Philadelphia after a child went to a daycare while infected. Florida Surgeon General Joseph Ladapo, a well-known COVID-19 vaccine skeptic appointed by the Republican Governor Ron DeSantis, further disrupted efforts to contain the disease when he told parents they could ignore the CDC's advice to keep unvaccinated children home for 21 days.
Notable pyromaniac said, hey, the building's just going to burn, okay? Like,
it's fine.
What are we going to do?
It's fine. Burning is completely normal and healthy.
Yeah.
2 doses of the measles vaccine is 97% effective against the disease, meaning even vaccinated people can contract the disease if it is allowed to spread in an under-vaccinated community.
Anti-vaxxers unite! Let's go!
Yeah. Notable cat said, why do we need birds? Like, what the fuck? What you want birds here? It's stupid.
The thing is, like, in that article, well, first, measles is a really awful disease. Like, it can cause like a lot of very serious like neurological complications. The original push for like against measles and for measles vaccinations once we got the vaccine was so effective that there are a lot of doctors who had never seen a case before until it started getting we had almost wiped the damn thing out. Until people started with this nonsense.
H Bomber Guy has a really great video about the vaccine skepticism that led to all this. It was the measles vaccine, measles, mumps, and rubella, where he was saying it caused autism. And like that whole study, it was by a guy named Andrew Wakefield. and that whole study is like rife with like child abuse and misrepresented data. And there was the original paper he cited was this guy named Hugh Funenberg, I think is what his name was. And that guy, his hypothesis was that you could actually cure this stuff with his bone marrow. Like that's what he was trying to sell, is his own vaccine, which is a bone marrow. And so Wakefield was also he was also paid by this lawyer who was like, hey, we want to be able to bring a case against the vaccine and make a shit ton of money.
Yeah.
He was like literally paid for this. And then also when Wakefield was offered like a fucking chance to disprove his claims, like, hey, let's do a peer-reviewed study. Like, we'll fund a full study for you so you can update your findings. It'll be like a nail in the coffin to the opposition you have. He fucking bailed on that shit. He didn't want to do anything with it because he's full of shit. And it was the biggest part of it was that like the media, because they were very sensationalist about the whole thing, reported it and scared the shit out of everybody in England. And that moved over here. And then it moved into like, I mean, obviously the COVID culture war, skepticism, right?
That sounds like some Willy Wonka AI bullshit. I'm the bone seller.
How?
Yeah.
I'm the bone seller. Buy my bones to be free of measles.
That's the guy who's selling chocolate in the walls.
Yeah.
It's Hugh Funenberg is like, this chocolate cures your measles. Look
Now
at my one worker who's working retail, the Oompa Loompa. That Oompa Loompa, you know, like in the movie, like he's like, all the Oompa Loompas live free. That Oompa Loompa looks like I am here against my will. Like this is 100% Oompa trafficking. Okay. Like there's no,
but back to your point. Yes. No, it's a situation that has been building for years, and now we're reaping the consequences of this misinformation campaign is what it is.
Well, yeah, didn't it just happen like the last couple days, like a cruise ship, like wasn't there like a cholera like outbreak or something as well?
There's a cholera outbreak on a cruise ship. What the fuck?
Yeah, I'm not actually like super up on this story, but I just looked it up right quick and like this was CBS News. Thousands stranded on Norwegian Dawn cruise ship hit by possible cholera outbreak.
Bro.
So yeah, at least 15 people on the cruise ship Norwegian Dawn were isolated and samples were taken for testing on Sunday, according to a statement from the port of Mauritius. Apologize for not knowing how to pronounce that exactly, but test results came in on Tuesday, the Reuters news agency reported. So yeah, I don't know if it actually did have an outbreak or not, but
so
yeah,
you know,
as though the world wasn't bad enough, now you've got to deal with measles, cholera, diphtheria, the Black Plague, dropsy.
What's next? Dragons?
It's one of those. I think the biggest frustration with all this stuff is it feels like a step back, right? Like it feels like we made all this progress and we're taking a step back.
Yeah. That was the Trump presidency.
Well,
let's be very real. Let's be very real. Let's be very real. These were guardrails that we didn't have in place,
right, to
deal with insanity. Like, it's very easy for people to get complacent. I think my favorite thing, and one with this is like, I told you guys I watched Jon Stewart like over the few weeks. Yeah. The one thing that I got from watching him the first week was like, it's like a fucking fever dream. Like, oh my God. Everything is this veneer of like performative bullshit, right? You know, you believe these things, you believe this rubric of things like, you know, protect trans people and, you know, the war in the genocide for the war in Gaza, and all of those things can be true. But even if you're on the right side of history, you could be contributing to the problem in the ecosystem that's destroying everybody. So like, I think the scary thing about this is it's not only about believing that, hey, we have to protect trans kids. There's a genocide in Gaza. Trump is a danger to democracy. Biden is not a great candidate. Like, it's not only believing in all of that, it's decoupling the things that end conversation and discussion and label people as teams to destroy a functioning society. And that's what like fucking blew my mind. Was like, oh, okay. Well, because you saw everybody, there's so many people who reacted, didn't even listen to the fucking segment, who were just like super reactionary about, oh, you're dissing my side of the aisle, and you saw them come out. And then you saw a reaction from the other people who were like, this is blue MAGA, which is a terrible term, by the way. But like,
Right.
And you saw all of these like kind of gangs coming up, and like everybody I know in normal life, and just like you see an electorate that's just like, what the fuck is going on? And so you got to think that like, a big issue that we have is this veneer of we have to buy into the performative bullshit in order to believe the things that we do. And some of that performative bullshit is this vaccine skepticism. And because if you believe in vaccine skepticism, you're with the Trump campaign, and you're with this, and you're with that, and you have to have, that has to be a tenant for all of the other rubrics to fall into place if you want to be on that team.
Right.
And you know, like it's hard to get like just the facts out there in a way that makes, I don't know. I mean, you guys get what I mean? It feels.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's just a rising tide of willful ignorance.
What a hopeful message to end on. I think we'll be okay though. Just realize, when you realize, oh my God, I'm in a pool of pee, you can at least get out of the pool of pee. The worst is if you just keep splashing around like, oh, there's pee everywhere.
I want to stay in the pool of pee, Zed. I want to stay.
Well, you're Tim Pool, so your name is Tim Pool. So like, so it's not our fault.
Oh, is that like that could be his memoirs? The pool of pee.
The pool of pee. Just
I look so much better than that, dude. Come on, guys. Come on.
Anyway, that's our show today, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed it. We're going to try to do this every single week when Jesse isn't sick or Dillon isn't bailing on us and looking like Tim Pool. If you like what you heard here, please, rate, please subscribe to the channel. Also, we don't have Freestyle the News this week. That's going to be coming on next week. And join TooSoonCrew.com for the ability to watch this live whenever we do it. So anyway, my name is Zaid Tabani.
I'm Jesse Moriarty.
And I'm Dillon Hulse. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us and listening. Appreciate you.
Yes. And we'll see you all soon.